Hey y'all, what is up? This is Rosie and I want to bring y'all another book review, but along with this book review I want to do a little bit of a discussion on why some erotica writers are erotica writers probably, or at least why I am. I touched on it a bit in my last video, but this book really got me to thinking. Okay, so this book is called When the Smoke Clears, and it's about Cassie and Lorenzo. Cassie is an erotica writer, coolly enough, and Lorenzo is a firefighter. And I thought that was kind of cool because I have a cousin named Lorenzo, and I also have a cousin who is a firefighter. Not the same person, but still. Anyway, Cassie is an erotica writer from Florida, and starting out, she was like a wealthy woman. She was married seemingly happily, but her husband turned into basically a douche. And you know, they have a son named Richard, and seems like a good little boy, and things were going well for them. You know, her writing was very successful, her books were very successful, and things were going kind of well, I guess, just not in her marriage because her husband, like I said, was a douche. The book starts out with her going to her husband's office to confront him about his affairs because she found some tapes that showed some unsavory things going on in their house with his mistress and apparently a few misters as well. So what she does in that office lands her in a bit of trouble. And when she returns to life on the outside, she's got her son, and they move up to Sarasota, Florida to get away from her old life and her ex-husband and all of that. So, you know, they're not living as well as they had been. They're in a house that seems to be older. It's not as nice as it was, but she's doing the best that she can. Her problem, though, is that her books aren't selling quite as well, and she's got writer's block. And let me tell you, writer's block is no joke. You do everything, any and everything you can to get your mojo back to writing. So I know how that is. I, at one point, went maybe 2 to 3 years without writing anything because I just couldn't think of anything. Nothing came to mind. I would read over my unfinished stories and nothing. So I know how that is. Anyway, she would go through all these types of rituals and spells and hacks and to get some ideas and to get some words down on the page, because her agent is her former sister-in-law. Her sister-in-law took her side and everything, and she knows her brother's an asshole, but she's still Cassie's agent, and they need to make some money. But Cassie is just not getting any ideas. So what her sister thinks to do is to call this woman who's helped other writers get their, you know, get their mojo back and get some ideas and get some inspiration. And her name is Mama Ganga, I think is how it's pronounced, because Cassie mispronounced it as Mother Ganja. But you know, she tries to talk her out of it. She's like, I can do it myself. You don't have to call this woman. Do not send this old lady to my house. But it happens anyway. And with Lorenzo, he's got twin daughters that he's raising alone. He's a firefighter. So some of the fires, of course, touch him mentally which I would imagine that all firefighters are that way. They see different cases and things that they just can't get out of their minds, and it hits them mentally. I'm pretty sure at some point all first responders are that way, honestly. I wouldn't be surprised, but he's just seen some things that have hit him and his team emotionally. He's the lieutenant, so they call him Lou, and he's going through things with his ex-wife, and wow, this book just took quite a few twists and turns that I just adored. I would love to be on this level of writing, but you know, at first Cassie has turned herself off from being intimate with anyone. She doesn't want a relationship. She's not looking for a man. She doesn't want to go on any dates. All she wants to do is write. So back to Mama Ganga. She shows up at the house, and she's this little old lady with very, very long gray dreadlocks, and she's got a cane that has designs on it, and the cane keeps changing. You know, there are symbols, and sometimes there are people, and sometimes there are mermaids or unicorns or something. Just the designs on this cane, this magical cane, just keeps changing. But she goes to Cassie's house, and she just, it's almost like she can read Cassie's mind, and she knows what Cassie's thinking, and she knows what the problem is. So she takes her to this secluded beach, and she parks in front of this fancy house, and she has Cassie to take all her clothes off, which Cassie does not want to do, because she's like, no, because there are yachts going by and everything, and she's like, no, I don't want to do this, and the water's cold, and Mama Ganga's like, you're scared, and she's like, this is a beach, you know, there are people walking by, I don't want to do this. So she's like, do you want to get ideas back? Do you want to write again? Do you want to get your career back? And so finally she talks Cassie into doing it. Cassie takes her clothes off, and she goes into the water, and she yells out, and then when she comes back out of the water and she gets dressed again, Mama Ganga gives her a pen and a pad, and she starts writing. Just this idea comes to her, and she starts writing, and that's ultimately what brings her back. And Lorenzo, who she rebuffed quite a few times, because she meets Lorenzo when Richard gets in trouble at school for pulling the fire alarm. They thought it would be pretty funny. He pulls the fire alarm, and he gets into trouble, and he meets Lorenzo, and then Cassie comes up to the school to get her son, and she meets Lorenzo, and he sees her, and he is immediately just taken. He's just smitten. He's attracted. He wants this woman. But she doesn't want him, because she doesn't want anybody because of what she went through with her husband. It was the fear of being with somebody again. She just didn't want anybody. She said she didn't have time for a man. So he kind of refused to take no for an answer, and he just kept calling her and just pursuing her. And eventually, you know, once she starts writing again, she accepts his invitation to come to the beach with her son, and he's there with his girls and with some people from his team, and they're just there having a good time. And she, you know, has a conversation with him. She starts admitting to her attraction to him, and they're just into each other, just talking, having conversation. And he cannot hide his feelings for her. He cannot hide how attracted he is, and basically how turned on he is. This book is a slow burn. Even though it's erotica, it's a slow burn. You don't see anything until almost 200 pages in. And so she finally gets an idea and she writes this book. And a good deal of what she wrote is in When the Smoke Clears. It's in the book. And then she gets another idea that she wants to do and starts writing on that, which is a romance between, I think, probably an erotica writer. I just know it's a firefighter that she's writing about, and Lorenzo is the inspiration, which he likes. And again, he's having some struggles with his ex-wife. And so something happens that steers Cassie in another direction and gives her the inspiration to write a book about his ex-wife. I'm trying to be as vague as I can about some points of this book because I do that because I want you to buy it and read it. I found the book on Amazon, or yeah, I did find the book on Amazon, but a friend of mine got it for me as a gift, and I pretty much read it immediately. I loved it. It was a great book, and I think you would like it too if you're into this type of stuff, and I think you should check it out. I give it 5 stars because I loved it just that much, and I think Kenya Wright is going to be another go-to author other than Olivia Gaines and Sierra London. The discussion I wanted to have. Some people think that erotica writers put sex in the book just to put porn, or just to have porn in their books, or just to, you know, just to be dirty or have sex in their books. And I guess some erotica writers do that. Some of them will just put sex in the book just to have sex in the book, and I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I've read books like that, and some of them are good if they get you to the point to where you're trying to go when reading those types of things. And some of them are fairly boring, and it's just like, oh, really, again? And I've read those too. This book got me to thinking, and it kind of proved my point. I think in my last video I said that when I write a sex scene in a book, it's to show that the character has gotten through something and is now trying to open up and show that she's willing to, you know, to invite that back into her life or into her life. And that's the same with Cassie. Cassie was afraid of relationships. Her ex-husband betrayed her. He used to talk down to her. He used to degrade her. And he took her for granted and hurt her in one of the worst possible ways a man could hurt a woman, or a husband could hurt his wife. And it made her not trust him anymore. She didn't want to be with anyone because of what he did, and she was scared. She was scared to open up her heart. She was scared to open up her body, and she was scared to open up her mind to another relationship. But Lorenzo excuse me, Lorenzo persisted, and he was patient, and he was non-judgmental, and he was always respectful of her. And he was willing to wait, which is what he did. He waited for her until she opened herself up to that. And that's kind of what I do in my books. I have my main characters kind of going through something, and then when intimacy enters into the story, it's for a reason. I try to have a reason for those scenes. And even though it may seem a bit gratuitous the way I do it, because I get quite detailed, I don't like a boring sex scene. I'm sorry, but I just don't. So yeah, I go a bit into details when I write out those scenes, but when I do it, it's for a reason, and it's to show that these people are willing to open themselves up to intimacy, into sex, into love, because they've been through something and now they're ready to heal. And part of that healing is sex, making love. And that's how it was with Cassie. She had to get past that initial fear she had in order to allow Lorenzo to come to her and give her pleasure. And so that's what happened. And I think that can even happen in real life, that you can be so afraid of relationships and being with anybody that you just kind of shut yourself off from that sort of thing, like with me. So I don't want to get too personal, but I've been alone for a very long time. Very, very, very long time. But anyway, yeah, so I think that's why some erotica writers do what they do and do it the way they do, because they're just showing that this person has gotten through something and now they're ready to bring that back into their lives, because not only do they want it, but they somehow need it. At least that's my take on it. That may not have been Kenya Wright's reasoning at all. I don't know. Maybe one of these days I can find her and interview her and ask her myself. I don't know. But yeah, that's where I'm gonna end this. Look for the book When the Smoke Clears on Amazon by Kenya Wright. It is a good book, and I enjoyed it a lot, and hopefully you will too, and hopefully you will see it the way I see it. If you do happen to read this book and you find this review, let me know in the comments, give me a like, and subscribe. It would mean a lot to me. Even if you don't like the video, like it anyway, because it will help me out a great deal. And with that, you guys, I love you very, very much. Thank you so much for wasting time with me. I hope to see y'all on the next upload. Bye for now.